All right. Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Thanks. But No One Asked You podcast where storytelling meets unsolicited advice. And today we have the incredible, the incomparable Rich Kaplan. If you don't know who Rich Kaplan is before he introduces himself, feel free to Google him. But also, I did a whole episode about Sir Rich Kaplan. He is not knighted, but in my mind, he is. Rich, welcome to my show. Please tell the people who you are.
First, thank you so much for having me on your wonderful podcast. I am honored to be one of the small few that's made it this far. I don't know. I'm a guy. I like to help people. I've always thought along the way I've had some health issues, and I've always thought, what's important to me first is my faith. After that, if I have faith, my health. If I have my health, then my family. And if I've helped my family, then my goal in life really is just to help everybody else, to help everyone else achieve their goals. And whether that's fundraising for Fred Hutch Cancer Center or helping Microsoft employees or former employees find their next role. I'm on the board of the Microsoft Alumni Network. The Microsoft Alumni Network currently has 290,000 former alumni
Wow.
who not all of them are connected, but there are 290,000 former Microsoft employees, and they connect with people on a regular basis for business, for fun, for because they've built strong relationships over the years. And I think one of the ways I got to meet you, and you'll probably talk about it, is you came into my office one day at Microsoft and wanted to chat. And so I'm sure we'll get to that. Anyway, that's who I am.
All right. Yay. Yes. So actually I already did an episode about walking into your office. For those of you who did not listen to the episode, you're going to get a high level. Where do I begin? Richard Rich Kaplan
Yes,
did
ma'am,
a
dear.
virtual you did like a virtual session when I was at Vanderbilt for my degree in
Oh,
my
I did.
MBA.
That's right.
Yep, you
Yeah.
did. And I was like, "Ooh," I was already in. I'd gotten the acceptance for the internship, and it just so happened that you and somebody else, I cannot remember, came to this call. And there was two things happening in my brain. I was like, "This man is like something about him is like he's speaking honestly, but he's also using a lot of jargon, and I'm not sure why." Like everybody uses jargon when they come to business schools. They want to like prop up the company. And then I decided when I got to campus, I was like, if I see this man, I'm going to say something. And sure enough, you came in with your little crutches. I think you hurt your foot and you came in and gave a speech. And I was like, that's it. I got to address it. And I think I walked up to you and I was like, hey, man, something's up with you. Like you seem cool, but I feel like there's something beyond what you did on that call. And I'm not rocking with it. So I'm going to come to your office and come hang out and ask you some questions. And you were
You
like,
did. Yeah.
all right. And then I think the after we met, I was just like, well, congratulations. Rich is my mentor. Welcome to the club. People always ask
Yeah,
me like,
I don't think I had a choice in that.
you did
I
not.
believe I was told. I believe I was told, but that's the kind of woman you are, and I love that about you.
And for those of you who are like, well, how did you choose Rich? Quite frankly, I mean, when we got into the office, I'm not going to say you're a curmudgeon. You're a self-proclaimed curmudgeon. You're not a curmudgeon. I think you're just a realist. And I appreciate that because I came from public school education. Like I was working in a school where you have to keep it a buck all the time. You can't hide behind anything working with kids and their families. So I was not about to conform a whole bunch for a big company like
Yeah,
Microsoft.
agreed.
And you were
Agreed.
very much like, yeah, 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 you do that. And
Y-
I just appreciated that. I
Yeah.
think a lot of people were trying to like help me fix how I talk. And I was like, I don't really want to.
No, no, I agree with that. You know what? I'm a city kid. I was born in Chicago, grew up in LA. I have one kid who most of the time lives in New York. Right now she's in London. Another kid that lives here in Seattle. Another one in Boise. We're city people. I went to public school. Nothing fancy, just public school. I got a computer science degree at Oregon State, a public school, and so I'm not one of those fancy people. I My schools were integrated. I tell the truth. I tell
Hmm.
truth to power. I think everyone should have a choice. Everyone should have an opportunity. And when I see things where people don't have an opportunity, I think that's wrong and I should help fix that. I like fixing
Things and people.
things and people. One time work at Microsoft. I was in a meeting and basically to a senior leadership, I said, "Listen, this is wrong. You guys need to stop doing this." And after the meeting, one of the guys came up to me and I because I had said I'm tired of talking truth to power all the time. And this guy said, I said, maybe I should go do something else. And he goes, "You can't do anything else." He goes, "No one's like you. No one just goes in and tells it like it is. You just don't seem to care what they think." And I thought to myself, and I'm like, well, I mean, I like to be liked, but if I'm not liked, that's okay. At least hopefully they respect me because I'm going to tell them the truth. And that's the way I've always been. People don't love the truth all the time, especially in corporate America. Lots of people think they're supposed to say what they want that people want to hear. That's not me.
Yeah. Okay, but let's okay.
However,
However, I don't know if like I love that stance and I'm not sure that every single person has the luxury of having that stance. So, When I
no,
met
that's true.
you, when I met you, I was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna be around with him." And then I started experiencing some weird stuff, and I was like, "Uh oh, uh oh, I've overstepped." And so
That's true.
I've gotten a question from younger Black women, like, how do you speak up? And I would tell them like, I just speak up. Well, what I didn't realize was like, there's a runway for that. There's only so far you can get speaking up. And I think you had watched or witnessed other women under you experience that. You even told me you were like, there's one girl, she spoke up and then that was into her. So you can do that. But I mean, what do you say to somebody who looks like me who wants to speak truth to power? Like, how do you coach someone like me who looks like me when everybody's not receptive to what I have to say because of whatever?
Pausing to
Yeah, think about it. And it's okay if you're like, I actually don't know. Like, I mean, I don't know either.
I sort of feel, and people might say, well, I don't have that choice, but I sort of feel if you're in a place where you can't speak the truth, then you're in the wrong place, right? And you might say, well, I can't do it, I can't do it, I can't do it, and eventually you'll get to the point where you're disempowered and disinterested and don't want to be there,
Mhm.
right? It's a matter of time because you always have to be able to speak your personal truth. And I know everybody has to pay their rent, right? And feed their family, right? And to do that, you get in a situation where you say, well, I only can speak up so much. But over time it eats away at you so badly,
Mhm.
right? That you eventually have to find someone who will support you. I mean, I've always been an advocate for you because I expect people to speak truth to power. I expect it, and I'm disappointed when they don't.
Mm.
It's funny. I learned some cultural things about that. One of the jobs I had in the past was I was the head of customer sat at Microsoft, and in that role, basically what you want employees to do is tell you the things that are broken and don't work, and the things that customers are upset about. Not a problem here in the U.S. I got a
Mhm.
lot of noise from a lot of people who want to complain about a lot of things.
Mhm.
Okay. But if you go to Japan and you ask the employees what's broken, they will not speak truth to power.
Mm.
Is culturally you don't tell people what's bad go uphill. It all has to be reviewed by each layer of management, my
Wow.
perspective, before someone wants to say something because they don't want to say anything wrong. And so I'd go to meetings in Japan and say, hey, I bring first level employees and say, hey, don't tell me what's wrong. Tell me what's broken. Tell me what customers are upset about. And they wouldn't say a thing. It is very interesting. So I was
It's a
telling
case
that to
study.
yeah. But if you're in that environment, that's a cultural thing. But if you're in that environment here and pick up in Detroit or LA or New York where you've been told not to say the truth, then over time you don't say it. And over
Mm.
time things get worse. And so you need advocates who will stand with you. I will stand with Britt Hunter. And when someone says, well, she crossed a line, I would say, hey, you know what? I didn't see a line. I'm sorry.
Ooh,
I didn't see a
kids
line.
are doing this now. Clock it.
Right. I didn't see a line, so there shouldn't be any lines in this. And the fact that you painted a line that people can't see on the ground, that's wrong.
Y'all, if you need a mentor like Rich, that's all Imma say. I feel validated, but I will say this too, because people ask me a lot about you. Well, you're in a lot of my talks. So I do a lot of talks and I talk about the Power 5. And the Power 5 concept is you need to have a mentor, 2 people alongside of you who are peers, who are smarter than you, better than you, more connected than you. And you need to be mentoring at least 2 people that keeps you in check. And so I show
Yeah.
this wheel and you're at the top
Yeah.
and people are like, how did you figure that out? Or why do you like Rich? And I'm like, one, because Rich backs me, but also Rich will sometimes be like, I mean, but did you do something weird? Like, you're not afraid to ask me, did I do
That's
this or
true.
did I do that? And I think a lot of people that were my mentors weren't comfortable telling me, like, stop doing this on calls until I found a manager who was like, you're not allowed to chew gum at work no more because you don't know how to not chew gum on calls. And I'm like, am I chewing it? She's like, you're chewing it. It's crazy. Don't do it. And I was like, okay. And then she became my favorite manager, period, because there's no passive aggressiveness. She just told me, and I knew she was just looking out. She was like, you got to play this game. And chewing gum is table stakes. Like, what are you doing? You're too comfortable.
Why would someone not tell you or any other woman of color that not give direct honest feedback? Afraid?
I was told by my manager, my last manager, she asked me, well, she had this feedback that she was sitting on. And I was just kind of like, get it out already. Like, get to it.
Yeah, no kidding.
And so we had the conversation and I was like, I find it concerning that like this feedback you gave me, one is pretty basic. I mean, it really wasn't that deep. I thought it was crazy. I thought I did something completely absurd, fireable offense. And it was some basic stuff that like you could have just told me in a moment or afterwards to just adjust. And she said, well, you need to think about what you're doing that makes people uncomfortable to give you feedback. And I said, Dawn, can't say her name. We gotta bleep it out.
Okay, we'll go back to that.
I'll go back. But I said, I'm sorry, but I'm pretty sure that as a leader, it's actually your job to give feedback. I gave you feedback and I was deeply uncomfortable because of your status, but I did it anyway because I thought what you were doing was wrong and I thought it was unprofessional. And here you are yet again being unprofessional. And it's that response that makes her not want to give me feedback because I'm gonna speak the truth. Like, if you're right, you're right. And
Yeah.
she has seen me go like, okay, I got the feedback. I got to do what I got to do. You've seen me do that enough times that if I am a strong worker, I've been promoted a certain amount of times, that I eventually say, no, I think you're actually in the wrong. You can't be upset. You can't do that. And I think that's what people want me to just like swallow it. And I'm like, I'm not gonna swallow everything. Like that's actually I can take an L and I did even in that meeting. I told her like, "Okay, these 2 things I agree with. These 3 things over here though, come on. Like what are we doing?"
Yeah. The my observation based on what you said is that I think for all employees, all individuals, when they hire into a group for any purpose, any company, you have to have things that you expect from leaders, right? Things that you expect from leaders and things that you don't expect or tolerate from leaders.
Right.
I've had good and bad leaders. I expect leaders to set strategy, to have a clear mission and a set of goals, and that's their primary role. In general, I don't look for leaders to be experts and tell me how to do my job. I expect them to hire great people to meet the mission and goals, and then empower, coach, and get rid of roadblocks. I expect leaders to listen. Right? You got two ears and one mouth. You should listen twice as much as you talk. But a lot of leaders don't do that. And so those are the attributes I look for. You have to decide. I can't tell you what yours are, but those have to be yours. A manager who's afraid to give feedback should not be a manager,
That's what I said. I actually said that.
right?
I was like, I'm just going to say this. If there's somebody that doesn't feel comfortable giving feedback, quite frankly, I don't think they deserve to be a leader. And I
I
already knew where
agree.
this was going, but I was like, I'm going to just say whatever I want to say because at this point, this has gotten so crazy that I'm about to just I've been speaking my corporate jargon and staying in my lane and I'm like, at this point, you've got to be joking.
Yeah, and actually, you and I uh, had multiple discussions about that while you were doing that, right? Okay, if I'm going to leave, shouldn't I just speak the truth?
Yeah.
Well, you should always speak the truth, right? Whether you're leaving or not. The bigger question is should that person be a manager? I gave feedback multiple times about one manager. It always takes a while where eventually the leadership removed that individual from their job. Just they were not leading.
Mhm.
They picked bad people to work
Mhm.
for them so that they could bully them, right? And I won't name names, so that they could bully them, and that those people would follow exactly what was asked and would not speak up.
That's weird.
And well, it's weird as hell. And I observed it in multiple meetings, and I told that individual so. The employees on the team came and talked to me and said, "Listen, what do we do?" I said, "Yeah, I observed it. I will share that with the leadership." And those changes, they're hard. They take
Mhm.
time, but over 6, 7 months, that individual got removed from their job as a leader. And so people should have personal expectations
Right.
of leadership, and if you don't see it, it's better to go somewhere else. I know not everyone has that choice, but uh, uh, I'm a Microsoft guy. Microsoft's a huge company, hundreds of thousands of employees. There's tens of thousands of managers.
Mhm.
There are good managers and bad managers. There are
Yeah.
horrible managers, and there's wonderful managers.
Yeah.
If you get in a company of any size, once you're in, if you get a bad manager, don't quit. Go find a better manager,
Yep. I've definitely told
right?
people that.
Yeah, go find a better person to work for, and give that person honest feedback.
Yeah. I think there's a few things happening, like, when I have friends who are sitting in a role. They have a terrible manager. I have friends still complain for 2 years, 2 years straight. And I see two things happen. One, they either kind of start to believe what their manager is saying, so they don't feel super qualified. So that becomes the first hurdle. And so they don't really feel like they can go anywhere else. And then the second one is they start looking for another role. And then because it doesn't happen within like 90 days, they give up. I'm like, y'all, this is like a 6, 7 month process at times. Like, you
It
really
totally is.
gotta commit, and it is a full-time job looking for a
It's a
job,
journey,
and
totally.
it sucks. But if your situation is so bad, then you should do what you need to do. And I mean, it's simple, but it's not easy. And I just think,
No, I know that.
but
Yeah, I know
I
that.
know I see you trying to, like, recognize, like, I know everybody can't do it. I know everybody can't do it. Yes, they can, though. They can. It doesn't look the same. It doesn't have the same process. It might not take the same amount of time, but, like, we actually have a lot of freedom in the United States. We have a lot of freedom.
Mhm.
We
Mhm.
have a lot of things that we can sacrifice and do without, so that we can go get the things that we need. And that's something I'm learning
That's
time and time and time again. It's all about your comfort level, and your comfort level needs to change when you need to change. So I don't know, when people start telling me, I know you're in a different seat because you have Microsoft stock. Y'all, Rich got bread. Okay, Rich done worked in sales. He been at Microsoft 25 years.
33 years
Jesus. Okay, we gotta get to
in a
Microsoft
row.
questions. 33 years. Like, he's all set. He recognizes that he's a white male. He understands. So I'm gonna say it for
Yep.
y'all. I will say it
Thank
for
you.
you. There's really no excuse to sit anywhere that you are that unhappy.
Agreed.
There's too much opportunity. And whether it's the people that you're around that don't have the view, whether it's your past experience where you don't have the lens and understanding, whether you don't have the stamina to grind it out, fix one of them and then go get it, because it's very possible. It requires discipline. So now, that being said, 33 years, this is actually, we were supposed to do hot seat questions. I got triggered.
Yeah, where are we? What's happening? What's
Let's
going on
start at
here?
the beginning. Let's do hot seat. Everybody meet. Let's meet Rich. Okay. First thing. You've worked for every single CEO at Microsoft.
Yeah, Bill Gates, yes. Steve Ballmer, yes. Satya Nadella, yes. True.
Crazy. There's a very small percentage of people in the world who can say that they have done that. I need to know, I'm telling no dirt, because these people are still alive out here. They know your name. What's something you
I could see Bill's house from here.
watch it, watch it. What's something that you've learned from each of them, good, bad, or otherwise? Like, this is what I took away from their leadership style.
Sure. Well, let's start with Bill. Bill is crazy smart, scary smart, right? You can have a discussion with him on any topic, and he'll know more than you, even the topics you think you're an expert in. So the man has serious brain power.
Well, he's a voracious
Um,
reader, right?
and he's a voracious reader, yes. And he's a competitive man, competitive. You know, in the early days, when I joined Microsoft, not to go so much down memory lane, but when I joined Microsoft, people didn't have PCs in their small business. People didn't have PCs at home. They didn't.
Mhm.
And our job was to get a PC. The whole mission of the company was a PC on every desk and in every home. That was the big aspirational mission, that you would have a PC. And I'd go to places and I'd talk to people. They're like, "Why would I want a PC? What would I do with that?" I remember my mother. I talked to my mother. Why would I need that? Well, she has one now, and she's had one, for 25, 30 years. But people didn't think they needed it. And Bill would just push and push and push, and doing deals with IBM and Dell and Gateway and Compaq and all those companies. They were hard deals. We worked hard to make sure that they chose our software. Um, when we were competing against companies like, people might not know these names, Lotus and WordPerfect, right? That made spreadsheets and word processors,
Wow.
right? We had to figure out how to compete against them. And we came up with creative ways. Like, so for example, we decided that we would create this thing, we would bundle multiple products together,
Yeah.
and we would call that Office.
Office.
And
Hey.
right? And they couldn't compete with that. In fact, the first version of Office, I think, was just multiple boxes shrink wrapped together, right? And in other words,
A
it,
literal bundle, a literal
it
office.
was a little like bundle with saran wrap kind of stuff, so that you
Okay.
get multiple products. So Bill was super competitive, so much so that we ended up in an antitrust situation with the government.
Saw that.
Right. We even, to make sure in the early days that we had a competitor, we even gave some money to Apple. You probably know this. We funded some of the work at Apple on the Macintosh, so that
Mhm.
so that Mac OS would continue to get built out at a time that they were really in trouble, and we needed to have them as a
Okay, I
competitor.
don't think I knew that. So that
Yeah.
was your way of fixing the antitrust, was like, "We'll give our competitors some money and help them build it to compete."
That wasn't part of that antitrust component, but there was feedback from the government that if we didn't have a competitor in this space, if your competitor goes out of business, you have a problem.
Oh,
Anyway, so those are early, very early build days. I'd say, Steve is next. Steve is good at giving bear hugs. It's funny. I saw Steve. We have a supermarket in Seattle called QFC, Quality Food Centers, and probably 12 months ago, I saw Steve in the Quality Food Center pushing a cart around, getting some food, and
nice.
I'm thinking, billionaire Steve out by himself
Is that
getting
safe?
food. Yeah, it was funny, and he goes, Kaplan, and he runs over and gives me a hug. Yeah, my wife is there, and he remembers her name because
Oh,
he's got such a ferocious memory. And he was going to his dentist, which happened to be by the Quality Food Center. And so after he went to his dentist with his nice, lovely, clean teeth, I'm sure I'm sure that he was hungry for something, so that's why he was there. Steve's brilliant, in particular at math. You could put a spreadsheet up like, 20 rows by 30 rows, spreadsheet that you own, that you did all the calculations on, and he could point up to one of them and go, that number's not right.
wow.
Right. And you're like, this is my spreadsheet, right? I know all the numbers. I know all the numbers. Right. And lo and behold, I did a presentation to him once that had to do with amount of people using PCs, and where the PCs were they from OEMs, or had they bought them, did they buy the Windows licenses direct, or did they get them from OEMs? And it was about privacy and security. And my first slide was a spreadsheet, And all the rest of the slides after that were based on the first slide. And he looks up and he goes, that number's wrong. And you know what? He was right. Right. And it's because I didn't really know OEM sales numbers of Windows. I got the number from someone else. I really didn't know it. I believed it to be true and it wasn't. And so the rest of my presentation was done basically because I based it on bad data. And so
Jeez, so embarrassing.
it was embarrassing. So
Ugh.
here's the learning. Steve's a great, amazing, detailed mathematician. Don't put things in front of Steve that you aren't 1000% sure are right. I also learned, going back to the conversation about managers, when you go to a manager for something, even the CEO of the company, in general, what you're not going for is approval for anything. You're going for guidance, right? Because generally they are not an expert in your thing.
Okay.
I always tell people that, if you should be the expert in a room who's coming to talk about a topic. You should not expect the person you're talking to, whether it's your manager or manager's manager or the CEO of the company, you should not expect them to be an expert.
That is
What they bring
great
is,
advice.
yeah, because
Well, it is great advice because you know what? That's actually the first argument that someone who's like early in career or like middle career gets really frustrated about. Like, I'm smarter than my manager. They don't know anything about what I do. And having been a manager and an employee when I was a vice principal and then a teacher, I would talk to my teachers after being a vice principal. I'd be like, they don't need to know about your math. As a vice principal, they need to know the full curriculum and what's coming
that's
next
right.
and the milestones.
That's right.
How can they
That's right.
possibly know? And it's like,
That's
no
right.
one, that conversation needs to happen. That
That's
nugget
right.
is actually very huge. And if you've never been on both sides, you can't relate. You always think
That's
that
right.
your manager's just dumb.
Right, right, right. That's right. That's right. So what you want from the manager, just to build exactly on what you said is, you want a broader perspective
Yeah.
because you're the expert on your thing. You might not have a broad enough perspective to think about how your thing impacts something else. And so when you go for to any manager where you're the expert, what you're going for is guidance. Don't expect them to know your thing. You're going for guidance and a broader perspective than you have, and that's what you should expect.
Dang,
Anyway, so
you gotta tell people that. All right, sorry. I got locked in. I was like, "Wow, this is deep." You just
we can
unlocked.
go back to it because we're on three CEOs.
Yeah.
Satya Nadella. Satya is many things. He's a humble man. He lost his son Zane,
Yep.
I believe, to cerebral palsy. I think right, or you can see things he said about that. He's a humble man. He's also a brilliant man. He's also very customer focused. When he first became a CEO, I was the head of customer sat at Microsoft. And I talked to him. It's not a great job. It's a very senior job, not a great job to be the head of customer sat because
Yeah, you
all
just
you ever talk
negative
to
energy.
is people who are upset, right? People who are yeah. In fact, I had to fly overnight one night to Washington D.C. to talk to someone, a senior leader in the government, because they were upset about something. We can get back to that story. So Satya, like first week in his job, he calls me, the head of customer sat. He didn't call me. His business manager called me and said, "Hey, can you give me an example where a customer was upset and the employees quickly figured out a solution and turned it around?" And so I started explaining to her. She goes, and I'm driving. I live in Seattle. Microsoft is in Redmond, Washington. And so I'm driving over the 520 bridge. 520 bridge is a floating bridge in Seattle.
Beautiful.
I'm driving over and I'm talking to this woman, Jill, and I'm explaining the situation to her. And she goes, sorry, I don't understand any of that. She goes, here's Satya. And I'm thinking, what? So Satya gets on the phone and I explained what the employees did. He goes, that's a great story. So I told him that story. And at the next sort of all hands meeting, he told the story. Right? And I thought, I thought, well, that's cool. And then after I got off the phone, I thought, oh man, I'm going to have stories all the time where employees did good things. And so I did that for a while. And after a while, it got to be a burden because there's quick, good stories that come to your head. But then when you have to like cultivate them, it becomes a lot of work. And then over time, he sort of lost interest and I stopped providing, I stopped providing them.
No.
But that's fine. Very smart man. He's bold. I think he's done probably the best job creating a vision for the company and exciting the company behind that vision. And I think he's recently said maybe it's time to change it, but having a vision to empower every organization, every person on the planet to do more. Whoa,
Yeah,
that's
it's
bold.
funny because we also all know the mission statement, like, it is repeated on every deck, in every training. It is like
It
you
is.
stated. I led so many trainings and sat through security stuff. It's like, as you already know, our mission is to empower every person in every organization on the planet to do more. And you're like, yes, I will get it tattooed. Please continue with this cybersecurity training.
But remember, the first mission was a PC on every desk in every
Yeah, it
home.
hasn't changed too
We just
much.
wanted to put things in your house and put things in your office,
Yeah.
right? So to go to that to empower people, it's pretty damn cool. So
He's
I think I think he's done a nice job.
yeah.
There's been some recent issues, the reduction in force. Lots of people let go. Like any big company, we have at will. Microsoft has at will employment and can, as necessary, let people go. People shouldn't have an expectation they're going to be somewhere forever, even though I was. So he's dealt with some hard things, but I think he's doing a great job.
Yeah, he's like, in my mind, he's the people's CEO.
Yeah.
Like, he leads with the character that he's asking other people to have. I feel like he needs a bulldog on his side, though. Maybe it's Amy, CFO lady. What's her
Hood,
name?
Coleman,
No, no, no. The CFO, Hood.
Hood, Hood. Yeah.
She seemed more of a bulldog because she's looking at numbers all day. But I'm like, he needs like a bulldog because he's like a visionary. He's very sweet. He's very nice. He's very
Yeah.
knowledgeable. But I need somebody to go in there and crack down on these crazy managers. Let's move forward from the managers. I don't want to talk about it no more. Rich, you worked at Microsoft for 33 years, and so you like were deep in my technology, and I felt that way too. Like, I knew nothing about Microsoft when I was a teacher. And then I started working at Microsoft, and every day I'm learning so much more about the capabilities. And then as AI is rolled out, I'm learning so much more. And now that I'm out, I'm like, oof, I need to do my own work to stay ahead. Like, what are you doing now that I mean, you probably have a network of people, but like, you're not at work every day. So how are you keeping up? Is there a podcast you're listening to? Do you not even care? You like, whatever. How are you keeping up with change?
You know what? Right now, I'm consulting for some folks who
Okay.
are, looking for guidance specifically on Copilot and AI.
Nice.
And so at first I thought I could just do that off the top of my head. And then I realized, no, I bet more than what I've just read, I need to use the products.
Yeah.
Right. And so, both Copilot and ChatGPT, and I know there's others, Claude and other products, is pretty amazing. For example, over the last week, I had to build a slide deck to present to a small group of people. And I'm good at, as an executive, I'm good at reviewing decks. I haven't built a deck in a long time. People build decks for me. Right. People build decks for me to review. I'm judge and jury nicely, by the way. But I don't really build slide decks. And so I committed to help these people. And I realized, oh my God, I don't know how to build a slide deck
My
anymore.
gosh.
I used Chat GPT I told it what I was looking for. I asked it to add publicly available information and research. I said, this is the format I'm looking for. This is sort of the slide topics. And lo and behold, 10 minutes later, I had a slide deck, right?
Yeah. You're
Right. It was
resourceful.
pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then it wasn't exactly as uh, specific as I needed. So I took that and then I fed it into Copilot and to PowerPoint, the Copilot associated with PowerPoint. It
Yeah.
cleaned some things up and it cleaned up the formatting, you know, and then I massaged it some more. I gave it some more feedback, and it's like, wow, you don't really need to know how to build PowerPoint slides anymore. You don't build them one by one. I didn't type anything. I happen to have, sadly, I have carpal tunnel syndrome. So my hands and my wrists hurt all the time. Too much time on the keyboard after 33 years. So I just do dictation,
Wow.
right? And as I do the dictation, it goes into ChatGPT or to Copilot, and then it cleans it up, and there you have your slides.
Okay. I was wondering if you were gonna use, not Designer. There's another one, it doesn't matter, it's not very good. I didn't even think about Copilot inside. I wonder if I have Copilot on my Office. That's the one thing that sucks, man. Once you leave Microsoft, you realize you don't own a
You got to pay through.
computer, you don't own any of Office, you don't have a Teams account. Like, I'm like, "Oh god, I don't have, oh, Jesus Christ, I don't have security on my." I realize I don't have anything. I was very spoiled. Okay, but wait, so I wanna talk about aging just for a just for a touch. So I recently
I'm
turned
old.
40. Yep, yep, yep.
Wow.
Yep, yep. We got there. We getting there. We want, you don't have to share your
Okay.
age. But for everybody there, I just
I'm in my late.
I thought you were, it's a good reference point. So
I thought you were 80. What the
no,
hell?
no. So I recently turned 40, and I'm
You look fabulous,
recognizing,
by the way.
thank you. I'm recognizing that ageism is a part of my life. I need to maybe I was very ageist for a while. However, there's a lot of older people who are like, AI is a robot that's going to kill me. Now, my question for you is, cuz you're older, do you come across these people? Probably not cuz you're a network, but like, do you like, what do you think about this? Older people just like not touching it, or a faction of people actually just not getting involved. I mean, having come from tech, being older, do you ever like try to get involved and help people, or you just like, that's what it is?
Well, first of all, I would say there's always, obviously we don't want to get into politics. There's the extreme right and the extreme left.
Mhm.
There's a set of people who think Tylenol, right, causes autism, and that 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 getting what do you call it, a shot? What do they call those shots?
COVID shot? Vaccine?
Getting a vaccine is just about big pharma making money, right? And there's a set of people on those fringes, right? I am not one of those. There's a set of people on the fringes who do think AI is going to take over and kill us all, right? And you could find any website, any book, any person online. You can find any online forum that will reinforce those
I will
things,
agree with you.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so if you tend that way, then you're going to be able to find your community of people who reinforce your views. For those people on the edges there, I'm not going to try to convince them that AI is not going to take over the world. They believe that to be true.
Mhm.
They also didn't get a vaccine. They're also not using Tylenol anymore, right? So
They're
so
also not eating peanut butter. I have a story about it. I'll share it in a second.
all right. So that's that set of people. I think most of the people in the middle don't know what it is. I
Okay.
I think sort of everybody has said, this is a floor wax and it comes with AI, right? Your floor is cleaner because it's got AI included.
What?
And you go, exactly, right?
Wait, what?
Exactly. That's exactly
Are
what the
people doing that?
response that's exactly the response I was looking for. Because people are trying to build it into everything.
It's too
It's
much.
like,
It's too
it's
much.
too much. And so what is it? So I joked about a floor wax, but if I get a vacuum cleaner that runs around the house by itself and it's using AI, what the hell does that mean? Will it rise up while I'm sleeping and try to kill me? Right? It's just a
Maybe,
vacuum cleaner.
if you're mean to it.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe. So don't kick the thing, right? Or it'll attack your dog. We don't want that. I don't think people know what it means, really, honestly. And if you haven't tried it, I just talked about it built slides for me. It was pretty awesome. It wasn't perfect. A bunch of times it'd say, "Hey, Rich, I'll build slides for you," and it'll be, "I'm working on it," and then
Yeah, and
I'd
then
come
there'll be
back a
like
half.
error, and it's like, "What am I paying you for?"
Right, exactly. I'd come back a half an hour later. It's like, "Where are the slides?" It says, "Well, I didn't build them because I needed to ask you one more question." It's like, "Well, then why didn't you ask me the question?" Right? And so then
You
I
arguing with
answered the question.
ChatGPT.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm arguing with ChatGPT, and after a while, it's like, I'm copying everything I did. I'm going over to Copilot, and I'll see if it'll do this. Then after a while, it gets tired and won't do anything anymore, and I go back. And so you have to learn for you what it's good for. Here, I'll give you an example as a guy in his 60s. I I take a number of medications, like lots of people in their 60s, sadly. You know what I do? I store them in ChatGPT because it'll store all your medications and keep
Hmm,
it on your device. And then when you get something new, let's say we're going to stay on the Tylenol track. Let's say you try something new, you want to try something new, you can say, "Hey, does Tylenol interact with any of the medications I'm already taking?" And it'll go through and it'll say through each one, it'll go, doesn't interact, doesn't interact. There's a small interaction here. There's a risk of X if you take this medication. So for me, that's a simple thing that I use AI for because it knows my health
mhm.
issues and it knows what medications I'm taking. And that way, and then if you go get a new supplement, fish oil, you can say, "Hey, will this fish oil interact? Is it bad for me, or will it interact with any of these other medications?" So for me, uh, I use standard scenarios that are helpful to me to share how AI is useful. I'll give you one other example. It's also about medications, but I'm an old guy. The insurance company, like you've seen a lot of politics on this, declined a medication for me.
Hmm.
They said that it wasn't standard for what I had, and so they declined it. And so my doctor then wrote a rebuttal, or they did a referral of some sort, and they came back and said, "Yeah, we're not paying for that medication." So I went into ChatGPT and I said, "Hey, provide me an analysis and reference all studies by the manufacturer for use of this drug for what I have and give me a complete synopsis of it." And it produced about 14 pages with all references and all studies. And I sent that into the insurance company and they were like, "Yeah, you're right. We should give you this medication."
The thing is nobody, not nobody, most people aren't gonna do that. Most people don't even know to do that. Most people don't feel empowered to do that. It's frustrating, and that sucks.
And sorry, just to interrupt, I wasn't paying for ChatGPT. That was just the free
Really?
app that I downloaded on my PC and was using it and came up with all that stuff.
Wow. Okay, plug. I mean, this is clearly a ChatGPT ad, y'all. I don't know if y'all knew that we switched and we started doing the ChatGPT ad. Rich is in sales, so he's always selling. Okay,
Yeah. Well, no, no, no. It's really just an AI thing. You asked,
yeah.
are you trying to convince people? And sure, yes, in the sense that I just gave you, and I share that story with people, and they're like, "I didn't know it could do that. It could store your medications. You know, yeah, I that's the primary thing I use it for. I also,
Mm,
if you see a wonderful blog post from me, just a well written, well scripted, punctuation is correct. What I did is I dictated it through my microphone.
yeah.
I put it into Copilot ChatGPT and said, "Hey, write me a post that says the following things. These are the things I absolutely want to cover." And then it writes me a post, and I go, "Okay, yeah, that's not exactly what I wanted." And I clean it up and then I post it. I think I had a lovely response to Britt Hunter recently that was written by Copilot.
No, you need to take the time and respond to me properly, Rich. You can't be doing this.
That is how I do that properly.
No. That's insane. Also, I hope people can see that your name down here is Crazy Rich. I hope that stays.
Yeah,
I don't
it
think it
is.
does. Okay, now, so because you're older and I'm 40, what is some advice you have for me as I get older? I am constantly giving these little 30-year-olds advice. They're all freaking out. Oh my God, I'm 31. I'm like, enough. Because your 20s, you think they were fun. It was actually just chaos. And now your 30s are hidden and it's about to be a little bit better. So, what's your advice?
You can be immature at any age.
I knew that.
I don't know, you build wisdom over time. Most people do. Not on all topics, but on some topics. I think you want to be thoughtful about what wisdom you're building over time. How you mentor and coach. You just said it. How do you mentor and coach others? How do you share where you failed to help them not fail in those areas?
Mhm.
I wasn't, I've managed big 1,000-person groups at Microsoft. I didn't know how to do that when I started. I did know that having empathy and compassion and listening is more important than talking most of the time. Most people, when they become leaders, think they have to talk all the time. I'd say, no, you're confused. You have to listen all the time. You have to unblock things, right? You have to provide guidance, not dictate things. If you see people dictating things and talking all the times, run fast, run hard away from those people, right? Because they're confused about the role of leadership.
Mm.
Um, I will tell you, my group, even the last couple of years, I had a small group at Microsoft who I dearly love. And that group, I said, here's our mission and goals and objectives. And right, because I feel that's my role. Now, one of the things I know is my role, I just said it, is to listen.
Mhm.
And so they came back and said, well, first they said the goals don't really seem to align properly to the mission. That happens a lot in
Yeah.
groups, right? What's important about what I just said is they were willing to say that to me.
Yeah. But you created that environment, just to be clear. You
Right.
you made that possible. That's a lot of people would like to do that, but they can't do that.
Then one of the things people have to learn is how do they feel comfortable enough asking the leader how they would like feedback provided. Some leaders, if you question them in a public space, that is bad, right? They feel like
They will seek retribution.
they will seek retribution, right? So I think all people have to figure out the mechanism to give feedback
Yeah.
that works for them and works for the leader. If they want it done quietly and in a dark place or via email or wherever, you have to figure it out, because that is the thing that gets you. I would hope, if I were a very proud person where I didn't want public feedback, I would hope that I had a way where in private I'd be willing to take feedback, so that at least if Britt Hunter didn't really like what I said, that I'd create enough open space that she'd send me email or schedule some time with me and say, hey, you know what you said was sort of not cool, at least to my community. Here's why, right? You have to create you have to create some space, or you got to go find a new manager.
Yeah. Find a
That's
new
my
manager,
deal.
everybody. That's the name of this episode. Go find a new manager. Okay, we have to play a game called This or That.
Okay.
You are going to pick one population. I'm going to give you two populations of people,
Yes.
and you're going to pick which
Yes.
one you want to give advice to.
Okay.
Okay.
You don't have to take my advice, but I'm giving it anyway.
Yeah,
That's what
no,
I was
this
told.
is unsolicited advice. And so, yeah,
Oh my
y'all can do
God.
whatever you want to do, but I mean, it's Rich Kaplan, so just do what he says. Okay, before we do that, actually, can you give me some of the worst advice you've ever gotten?
Worst advice I've ever got. Guess I'm old. Apparently, off the top of my head, no. Well, I mean, there's scenarios in a work environment where I've been told you have to do the following, right? You have to do the following. Like I was told, you have to cut back your staff. You have to manage the low performers out. This is a common one. You have to manage your low performers out, even though I didn't have any low performers,
Mhm.
right? And then they wanted me to push out the middle, the person who's not as great as everybody else, but they were good, right? That's a push to senior leaders when someone's looking to cut costs.
Hmm.
And you sort of actually hear that even today on the old time Microsoft Facebook group. Hey, I got pushed out. Someone said I was a low performer, never heard it before. And I just heard it yesterday.
Yeah, this happened a lot. This was
Yeah,
happening a lot, and I hated it because you're just being gaslit.
totally.
Like, just fire
Right.
me. I think I
Right.
actually said
Right.
that. I think I actually said that.
Well, I could totally see you saying
I
that.
I I just was like,
Absolutely.
Well, I had reported the situation. I already told you. I had reported my situation to HR like twice. I was
Yeah.
like, this is
Yeah.
unbearable. I don't even know. And so I've also been in a leadership position where my job was to manage someone out. And I was kind of like, can we just put them on a PIP, like a formal something where we can track so I don't have to have an awkward conversation? And she was like, sure. But you got 6 weeks. I was like, fine. I'd rather do that than like bully them or something weird, make something big out of small things. It doesn't make sense to me. And
Right.
I'm not like that.
Right. So that puts people in this weird situation, and for me, like you, I wouldn't tolerate it. Right. I just said no. Right. And then you have to live with the repercussions of saying
Yeah,
no.
but
And most people won't do it. And then to your point, you're just gaslighting someone, and it's an uncomfortable, bad situation
it's horrible, and
that
you don't even know what that person is going through. I was pulling my hair out. I started
totally.
smoking cigarettes.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I was also, like, dating a clown,
Yeah.
and that
Right.
December, I think I was like yeah, I tell people this, I'm like, "Listen, that December, I was like, I'm not going into the New Year with these 2 people in my life. They both gotta go." And I don't know
Yeah.
how I'm gonna
Right.
figure
That's
out this
right.
part, but they gotta go because I was literally I was starting to do things that I was like, "Okay, wait a minute. Wait, 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 wait. This is not us. We are not sleeping. We're smoking. We're
Totally.
not eating for real. Like we're drinking more." It was just but like a lot of people don't recognize that, I don't think.
Yeah, you don't know people's lived experience. They could be in
Yeah.
an abusive relationship at home.
And here you
They
are.
could they're living out on the street, or they're living in a car, right? They have a drug problem, or they have a drinking problem. You don't know. And this gaslighting on top of that, right? This is pushes people too far.
It's too far. It's too much. It's not humanistic, and it's yeah, for me, I told HR, I was like, why won't y'all just fire me? Can you just fire me? And it's because it's illegal, I'm sure. They didn't have any grounds, but I was like, I'd rather just be fired and be sad
Right.
for 6 weeks
Right.
than go through
Right.
8 months
Yes.
of like, am I going crazy? Like it's a terrible place to be. So I really empathize with anybody who has to be managed out because it's horrible. It's horrible. There's got to be better ways. All right, let's get to the game.
Okay.
Okay, first two groups. One is 20-year employees, so somebody who's been at a company for 20 years, or 20-day employees, somebody who just got there, they're 20 days in. Who do you want to give advice to? And it can be any advice you want.
20 days.
All right. When was the last time you were 20 days in something?
33 years ago.
All right.
20 days. Have fun. Work hard. Be clear on what the mission is. Be part of the team. Build relationships. Build relationships with good people. Pick your people. Understand the people who are gaslighters and you don't want to be with. Grow, learn. That's all. And I've spoken. I might not have spoken at yours. There's something at Microsoft called NEO, New Employee Orientation, and that's on people on their very first day. And I often speak at that. And one of the things I don't anymore because I don't work there, but one of the things I would tell people is, and I said it earlier on this podcast, there's good managers and bad managers. There's good products and there's bad products. In a year's time, if you got with a bad manager or a bad product, go find it. Don't leave. Go find a new place to work. It's sort of a lot of the premise of this show is there's good and bad everywhere. Recognize that, align yourself with the good people.
Yeah. I also I used to really harp on that, like who you associate with, especially on your team, because teachers are very messy. I don't know if you know this. Like schools are like, how like Grey's Anatomy is just built on a bunch of like weird. It's not incestual, but
Yeah,
it's weird because you guys are working together, now
sort
you're
of.
dating each other. It's very weird.
Yes,
Schools are
it
not
is.
that different. Like schools are not it is you are around the same people for a long, 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 long time, and it's very easy to get into groupthink. So what I like to tell people who are very new is like, look, you got to be able to read people quick. If you join a team and there's somebody that comes up to you and you first of all, you meet with every single person on your team one on one. That is a must. That is something I do all the time. You book, don't wait on them. You book 30 minutes with every single if there's 15 people on the team, guess what? You about to meet 15 people. Figure it
That's
out.
right. Absolutely.
go meet them for 30 minutes. And what's great about it is in 30 minutes, you really shouldn't be messy with me.
Mhm.
You shouldn't
Mhm.
talk shit about anybody in
That's right.
30 minutes because I don't know you and you don't know me. But
Right.
constantly,
This is between me and you right now. Yeah.
yeah, and I will tell you, and I tell younger people this, there's at least 2 to 3, depending on the size of the team, there's at least one person that you're gonna talk to, and they're gonna know everybody's dirt, and they may not tell you everybody's dirt, but they're gonna tell you, "Oh, and don't talk to this person because they like to do this, and this person over here, da 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 da." And I think
Yeah.
movies
Right.
kinda, like, portray them as, like, your
That's
BFF.
right.
This is not your
Yeah.
BFF.
Right. That's right.
This
That's
is
totally true.
this is not your BFF. The person that you meet for 30 minutes and they go down the list of people that do dumb stuff, first of all, that's your job to figure out over time. It's okay to
Yeah.
get hints, but if that's what you're doing in 30 minutes, what are you doing when we get off the phone? And I think
That's right.
people gravitate to that person because they think they can trust them. You cannot trust this person.
That's right. That's right. That's right. By definition, because they're telling you everything about everybody
Yeah.
else.
And you know what you
Yeah.
do? But here's what you do. You stay on their good side
That's
because
right.
they will
They're
tell
going to
all
talk
of your
about you.
business.
That's right. To set
2,
everyone
when
else.
stuff goes wrong and you need to figure out what's going on, they're gonna know.
Yeah. That's
Yeah,
right.
but don't be friends with do not get drunk with this person, please, y'all.
That's right. That's
Do you want to give advice to mentors or mentees?
mentors.
Okay. What's your advice?
I had a woman who worked for me. I'll call her out by name. Her name's Tamika. Great, lovely, wonderful person. She said, "Well, I was her manager, but I was also her mentor." And so we were having a meeting, and she mentioned to me, I think I'm using names. These are good people. Michael Ford. Michael Ford. He said, "Well, she's my mentor, or he's my mentor." I thought, okay, that's cool. That's a good mentor. And then in the next meeting, she mentioned someone else's name and said, "Well, she's my mentor." And I'm thinking, what? I thought Michael Ford was your mentor. And what this is something I learned from her that applies, that I think should apply to all mentors is, as a mentor, you have different skills. Each mentor has a different skill. We're all a different person. I can mentor people on leadership. I can mentor people on working for three different, very different but brilliant CEOs. I can mentor people on managing big and small teams. I cannot mentor you. I am not a product innovator. If you're looking for a mentor on how to create new products, don't pick me. I'm not that guy. And what I recognize from my conversations with her is you can have many different mentors who provide different value and guidance and skills. Well, don't just say, Britt says, well, Rich is, I think she says, one of my mentors, because it's not about having one mentor. It's about getting the skills that you need as a mentee from multiple people, and using that advice to get a holistic view of what you need to advance your career.
I like it. I like it. I think do I have multiple mentors? B. I don't know, Rich. I think it's just you for right now. I gotta figure it out.
Get your shit together.
I gotta get it together. I
No,
think I
no,
do. I
no,
think
but
I do have multiple mentors. I think I just don't acknowledge them as mentors.
yeah, yeah, you might not call it that.
Yeah.
Everyone has multiple people they go to for advice.
Yeah, this was a formal agreement that you did not agree to fully, but I just initiated. This is you are officially that's
Yeah.
it.
Yes. Yeah,
And
and
other
and and
people, I
and
think,
you know what?
yeah.
And if there's value to you in calling it out and say, "Hey, Brit, you and I are friends, but the reason you're my friend is because you give me great advice." Right? And so, can I call you my mentor? Right? I think that's a fine conversation to have.
Mhm.
Right? Anyone who gets advice from someone, say, "I'm not putting it's not a heavy burden. It's the same thing that I always wanted from you. It's just advice when I need it."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do think mentors, like, think there's this, like, grandiose plan, and I've actually talked to women with their MBAs. I'm like, "Listen, when you get your 2 mentees, it is not your job to set up the call with them. If anything, you should empower them to set the boundaries. Here's my link. You can call me on these days. Don't ever call me. Only set up meetings, whatever it is. And let them know if you don't want to just have a shooting in the breeze conversation, tell them either frame the conversation a certain way, but your mentee, in my opinion, the mentee should be driving the relationship. It is not on the mentor. And I've heard many people say, the reason I don't have mentees is because I don't have time to balance them. I'm like, all you have to do is answer the phone. And in their mind, they think they need to create an agenda and follow up with you.
No.
I'm like, that's not your job. Your job is to be a beacon of light, be doing the right things in society. And when they call, answer with I know or I don't know. And it's not a project management thing. You know, I think the worst thing you could do is manage the relationship for them. That's not going to be helpful for them.
Yeah, I'll disclose without Brit's approval our relationship. Sometimes, we had a one-on-one earlier this week. We had no agenda. We just chatted about things that were screwed up. I gave her some technical advice about her
My
camera,
camera, it's so much
which
better.
you look lovely, by the way, which is working fine. And we just chatted. And then sometimes we text each other, and sometimes we don't have meetings. Sometimes we cancel things at the last minute because there's not much to talk about. Sometimes in the past, when we talked about this, when Britt was struggling with her manager and struggling with HR, we talked about that. What should I do? Should I quit? Where do I, should I file a formal complaint? Should I,
I
right?
forgot
We
about
had,
that.
right? No, hey,
I was
very,
ready to get
very,
lawyered up.
right? She was very serious conversations. And so this relationship, which has gone on multiple years, how many years?
2019 is when I met you
Long
for
time.
my internship.
Yeah. So this relationship has gone on 6 years, had some very serious mentee sessions. And sometimes we just laugh and bullshit. And, she does a new LinkedIn post and I use my bot to reply.
It's all right because the post is LinkedIn. I mean, it's Chat GPT. So it's like two Chat GPTs talking to each other. It's fine.
No, but right, and that's how it is. It comes and goes, and sometimes it's serious, and sometimes it's goofy, and sometimes we cancel.
Yeah, and so I reference you the most, and that's probably why I think you're my only mentor because I only talk about you, is I also see people trying to make someone who has a certain status and a certain level of information their mentor. And it's like, but do you like them? Like if you can't
Right,
kick it with the person, if you can't get coffee and just shoot the breeze and not talk about work, I mean, they can be a mentor, but I
right,
don't know how comfortable you're gonna be sharing certain things, like and maybe that's
right.
why you need multiple mentors, but I'm like, the reason I chose Rich is because he keeps it a buck. Like, I'm not questioning. I know he has no agenda. I know he's not saying things to protect the company. Like, he's saying things from his experience. I have enough emotional maturity to know that I can't walk around Microsoft with that same big rich
Yeah,
big rich energy.
swagger, swagger.
I can't go around telling people, "You know what? You're wrong." But what I can do is take that information and go, "Okay, so there is a place where you should and can speak up. I need to think about how I do that differently, but I want to make sure that I feel justified in this with the little bit of information Rich has." And it's just like it's a sounding board, but there's trust there because we can't just shoot the breeze. And I think some people think things are supposed to be so formal. And I'm like,
No, no, no,
that feels uncomfortable to
no,
me.
no, no.
All right.
Yeah, no. So figure out how to. Yeah, you have to figure out how to build that, and you have to pick a mentor who you believe listens and will give advice, but at the same time that you long term build a friendship.
Yeah. Are we friends?
I think we are.
By the way, y'all, I have not seen Rich in person since 2019.
Yeah, I think so. Oh,
Like
that's
we met in
crazy.
2019, and that was the last time I saw you in person.
That's true. We
Crazy.
live in different cities and
Okay.
we do videos and
Crazy.
it
All right.
works. And
It
it
does work.
works.
It works. All right. Last question. People trying to climb the ladder in corporate, people trying to leave corporate behind. These are not the same people. These are people who are like very much position driven in corporate and or people who want to leave corporate.
People who want to leave corporate.
Okay.
The corporate is any big company. Corporate, we'll call it that. Corporate could be 1,000-person company or a 200,000-person company. Corporate. What people want to leave, you said corporate. It's not what they want to leave. They want to leave corporate culture.
Mm-hmm.
It's the culture they want to leave. That culture might be toxic. culture might be masculine, that culture might be tech bros, that culture might be they want to leave the culture. And so before you go, I have to you sort of have to figure out what exactly you want to leave.
Mhm.
Is it bad leadership above you? Is it people who don't listen? Is it a reward system that doesn't reward it rewards based on favoritism and not based on quality of work? What is it that you want to leave? What about the culture? Not about corporate. What about the culture is it you want to leave? Who do you want to leave? And I think it's important to know those things because otherwise in a year you're going to be in another place and realize you're in the same place again, right? And so then how do you avoid those things? I always think that when you interview for a job, you ought to make sure that the interview is going two ways. It's like, are you good enough to have me?
Ooh, spicy.
Are you good? Right? I knew. Are you good enough to have me? Are you inclusive? Do you listen more than you speak? Do you have a strategy and a mission? Are you compassionate? Do you show empathy? Because those are the things I need. And if you don't have those things, then you don't get me,
Yeah.
right? Right? I'm badass. You don't get me if you don't have those things.
Yeah. No, I like to give people some of my, like, hot take questions is what I call them. They are questions for the interviewer because 'cause I'm also interviewing the company. That was the biggest lesson I learned in business school. They would tell you, they were like, "Be sure, yes, get your STAR methodology down. Absolutely. Don't come in there fumbling around behavioral questions. This is an easy thing. However, you need to have a set of questions that you're asking so that you know that you're not gonna go crazy in this place." And so I would just ask people, and I loved my interview for Microsoft, partly because of the questions they asked me, and then partly because the people that I asked questions to were super honest. And so one of those questions was, "What's something you hate about your job?" And sometimes they would tell me just about their job, and then sometimes it would bleed into the company. And I was like, and you could see they were
Oh.
like slowly crashing out, and I'm like, "All right, overshare, overshare," and they would rein it back, but I caught him on a bad day. Sometimes I would ask, like, you have all these pillars or whatever. I was like, "Can you give me an example of this in action?" And people had like good responses. But I think the questions that I was asked told me enough. So one of the questions that I was asked, and I'll never forget this question, was, "Tell me a time when you had to give someone of more seniority feedback and you weren't comfortable doing it, but you did it anyway." I said, "Honey, how much time you got? Because just this morning," that was one of those times I had to rein it in. I was like, "Okay, okay, this is your chance to really show them who you are, but don't show them everything." I was like, "I got 6 examples right now, but I'm gonna give you just one." And I appreciated that question because that told me that they were trying to change the culture. They wanted people who were
Yeah,
gonna push the boundaries. Fortunately, it didn't work out for me, but
that happens.
I got a bad
Shit.
egg. But otherwise, yeah, I loved everything. Microsoft is my only corporate experience. It'll probably be my last. I don't know if I'll ever do it again, but I tell people to this day, I'm like, it doesn't matter what happened to me in that one silo. I had great managers before that. I had great mentors before that. I met so many people. Everybody's just like, Microsoft is dope. And I only know that because of what my peers were telling me at other places they were working. That's all
Yeah.
I knew, and I was like, "You know what?
Yep.
I don't have those problems. I don't know what you're talking about." And I think
Yep.
a lot of that came from, I just think it's because of Satya. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of other reasons, but I think him being at the helm,
Mhm.
I felt
Yes.
empowered to be like, "I can uphold these things because this isn't right.
Right, that's right.
This isn't right." And I know that that's not what we say. And this bald man gets on the screen and tells us every few weeks. So I know I'm not tripping, you know?
Right. So if you see that at the top and you're down here, but the middle isn't aligned to that, you still know you can do it,
Yeah.
right? Because the boss is saying that, the fact that my manager isn't saying that, well, that's wrong.
Yeah,
I, I just
you're an isolated item.
I just always want people, I've said this multiple ways on this podcast. You're the expert. No one, when you go to a room of people and you're there to talk about your thing, you're the expert. The people don't know more about you, about your thing. What you're seeking, never seek approval in a meeting, seek advice, right? Seek a broader perspective.
Yeah.
I once had someone say to me, it was a brutal meeting. Everyone was yelling. I was the presenter. Everyone was yelling.
Yelling.
And they were unhappy um, about what I was presenting. They weren't agreeing with me. Um, and I kept saying, I appreciate the feedback. I appreciate the feedback. And I kept smiling and I kept going. I wrote things down. I said, that's good advice. I appreciate that. And after this meeting, someone called me and goes, how'd you do that? I go, do what? He said, well, everybody was angry, but you just kept smiling, going through your presentation. They didn't knock you off your strategy or what you were going to say. You didn't get angry or flustered. And I said, well, because I knew why I went there. I'm the expert on my stuff. They're not the experts. I was not seeking approval. I was going there to inform them and to get feedback and advice. And I got that. Some of it I thought was a good feedback. Some of it I thought was ridiculous. And so I wrote it down. I'm not going to do anything with it. No, seriously. I went there to seek guidance and advice, and I got it. And some of it was bad.
See, y'all, this is why, and if you know me, this is why Rich is my mentor because he keeps it 100. Is he right all the time? I don't know. I can only go off what he knows, but he's a smart man. He kept his job, so he must be doing something right. No, I think we need
Sorry,
more
but
people like that.
But isn't that right? Isn't that right? When you go somewhere and you're the expert and you present that to people and they disagree, but you're the expert, that you should say, okay, that's interesting advice, but I'm not going to take it
And don't
because it's
say that last
wrong.
part, guys. Just say
No, right. No, you don't say it out loud. You say that in your head and you smile and you say, thank you for the feedback.
there's a fine line. There's a fine line between arrogance, I'm not taking anybody's advice, I'm going through the
Yes.
motions, and then there's, yeah, no, I hear you, but nah, like I gotta do what's best for this project. I mean, that's a nuance thing. You can't give everybody that advice.
That's true. But to your point, about nuance. I think you have to figure out how to do that respectfully and well. Right. I was sincere that their advice was that I was going there for guidance. To me, the biggest thing in your head is you should never go to a meeting for approval, right? You should be sort of pre you know what you're going to do.
Mhm.
Right. Well, I'll qualify that. Generally, if it's a budget, you're going for approval, right? You're trying to
You gotta have
land a
it ticked
dollar
and
amount,
tied. Yeah.
right? And then, but I'd even say in those meetings that should be ticked and tied before you get in the meeting, right? You don't want it to go for approval for headcount or money in a meeting. What you want is to have that all lined up and nailed before and then really going in the meeting to brief people and get advice, not to see
Mhm.
if you can land it in the meeting because it's hard to land things in meetings of more than it's hard to land anything in a meeting with more than 5 people to get
Mhm.
people to agree. Even as a school administrator, you know that between parents and teachers, hell no, right? Hell no, that's not happening. And so you have to do those things one on one, or in groups of 2 or 3, but nothing bigger than that.
Mhm. Yeah. It's an art, and
And it's an art. Yeah.
I feel like, Rich, you were just like, "I don't need it to be an art. It's this is what it is."
Well,
Rich
did you
doesn't.
think that was too was that too arrogant? Do you think that was arrogant?
No, I think there's a level of confidence that you have because you've been doing it. And you go in with that perspective of like, I'm being paid to be the expert in my field. And part of being an expert is knowing when to know something is signal versus noise. Something I coined from Microsoft. Signal versus
Ta-da!
noise. Like some things are just noise. And if you're able to distinguish between the two, I think that makes you more valuable because you will walk into a room. And I think I have made this mistake of walking into a room with my proposal, assuming you guys will love this. And then they just tear it all apart. And I'm like, oh my God, what is happening? And had I just gone in with like, This is a first draft. It may not fly. There may be half of it may be changed over. I would have felt better about it, but I would go in places like, "Oh, this is good. You guys hired me to do this. I know what I'm doing. Da, 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 this is good." Meanwhile, I hadn't really checked in with other people. I probably could have asked somebody who's closer to it
Hmm.
before I got into the meeting. Like I had to learn that. But there's so many nuances, but you also have to crash and burn a few times, I think, to
Yeah.
you have to crash and burn, and you need to have a trusted advisor
Yeah. That's right.
in the between the two, between enough crashing and burning and a trusted advisor or a manager who gives you solid feedback, you can get better at it. But I feel like corporate has so many like mind games
Yeah.
that
Yeah. I
you
would
gotta
just like people to
learn.
walk away with, you should be the expert on your thing.
Mhm.
In general, when you go to a meeting, no one knows more than you about your thing. If you're not the expert, that's a problem, but you should be the expert on your thing. So that's one. And two is you're going for guidance, right? You're going for guidance to make what you were thinking of doing, to get a broader perspective and guidance to do it better. And then for me, this I don't want it to come off as arrogant. Number three is you can take the advice or not. Not taking the advice might be risky. You could be fired for not taking the advice, or you could say, hey, you know what? It's good advice. We should do that in version two, version three of this. We don't have the budget or the time to do it right now, but it's good advice,
Yeah.
right? To your point, it's nuanced,
Yeah.
but you have to learn those skills, those three skills, basically. GPT or Copilot.
Yeah, just talking to the mic and talk to us.
We
We just there's not enough.
out.
Yeah,
Should
yeah, we're
we?
wrapping it up.
Should
Let me wrap it up, Rich. Let me do
Why
it.
don't you wrap it up? Okay.
Please. I
I
was
love you.
clocking the time.
I love you. You look good.
Thanks. Thank you everybody for joining us. Rich, before we go, some people have products or updates or book releases or just anything they want us to walk away with. What's something you'd like to share with the community before we sign off?
There's a book release coming out. There is, although I have to find it. It's not my book. It's 50 women that have changed Microsoft.
The coffee table book.
The coffee table book.
It's pretty.
It is pretty, except for right now, I can't figure out how to share that information with you.
We'll put it in
Is
the
there a
show
way we
notes.
can put it in the show notes? Because it looks really cool, and it's a powerful group of women that have had a huge impact on the industry, and so we'll put it in the show notes, and you should check it out.
Yes, we'll put an image on it too. I saw it on LinkedIn. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful book. And I would gladly take a gift of the book, Rich, since it sounds like you are the spearheading project manager on it. I would love a copy.
I am just a helpful sponsor and supporter of that amazing group of 50 women.
I love that. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining my pod. This has been fun.
It has been fun. Thanks for having me.
Just to note, everybody, the pausing and thoughtful thinking never does it in a meeting, just spewing whatever comes to mind. So you got thoughtful Rich, which
Stop,
we love. We
stop,
love thoughtful Rich,
stop.
but we like off the cuff Rich too. And so the next time you come on the
Okay.
show, because there will be a next time, you don't get think
No.
time. You're gonna have to give me real Rich.
Okay. We'll figure that out.
We'll figure it out. All right, y'all. Peace.